So I've just taken my pastry out of the oven. It's going to be hot, so make sure you've got your funky oven gloves ready to lift the beans out. My top tip is grab the corners, leaving one of them open, and just lift and pour the beans back in. Only one escaped, so that's quite good. And this needs to go back in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes, just to bake the surface through. So whilst I wait for the pastry to finish baking, I thought I'd quickly introduce you to my cookbook of curiosity. So if you're enjoying baking along with me today, you can purchase this and make some more of your own SciRecipes if you like. It contains 10 recipes. There's a mixture of sweet and savoury in there. There's a Great Taste award-winning recipe called Satin Bagel Rings, so you learn to make bagels, fill your house full of lovely bread smells, and then sit down and read all about satin and its rings. My favourite recipe is called Journey to the Centre of the Pizza, and I use the toppings on the pizza to teach you what the different layers of the earth are. So with all the SciRecipes, you get a step-by-step illustrated guide, all the ingredients are at the top here, and it tells you how to make them further down. And then on this side of the page is the sciencey bit. So you can sit down with your family, with your friends, eat your pizza and learn all about the different layers of the earth. And there's a little biography of Inga Lerman in here as well. And you get to learn what she discovered about the inside of our planet. So yeah, it's available on my website and it's also available on Amazon as well. So why not get yourself a copy? So my pastry has been blind baked and I've just left it over there to cool down, and I'm getting on with starting to make the fillings now. So this one is going to be a coconut frangipani. So frangipan's normally ground almond, but today I thought because of the tropical twist and the fruit that I'm putting on top of it, I'd make it with coconut instead. So in the bowl here, I've used my mixer, I've cheated, I've not done it by hand. I've measured 140 grams of butter and 100 grams of sugar, and I've just mixed them together until the sugar is pale and soft and creamy. And to that, I'm then going to add a tablespoon of my coconut. So it's 140 grams of desiccated coconut and 50 grams of gluten-free flour. I'm just going to add a couple of spoonfuls of that and 1 egg. For the time being, and then I'm just going to mix that together. So just do this gradually because I don't want the mixture to separate or curdle once you start mixing egg with butter. It can have a tendency to do that. So again, once that's mixed, I can then add in a couple more spoonfuls, the second egg, and then mix that around. Again, if you want to do this in the mixer, you can do. Just do it on a slow speed to begin with. It's just a bit too noisy whilst I'm on video doing this. So I thought I'd do this bit by hand and then just add a bit more. Hopefully it should smell amazing and full of coconut flavours. Okay, so that's one of your fillings done, and now to go prepare the fruit. So we're now at our final stage of finishing off our pie. And there's sort of two main things that go into choosing a SciRecipe and producing it. Is A, it's got to produce something that can be eaten, it's edible, and it has to have great flavours and taste good and have everyone enjoy it. So today's flavours are a tropical twist. So we've got our coconut frangipani, we've got mango, blueberries and blackberries. But the second thing behind a SciRecipe is that it's got to explain something scientific. And in 2015, the New Horizons probe flew past Pluto, took these amazing pictures that NASA have now released and that we can all look at. On board the New Horizons probe was the Ralph telescope, and within the Ralph telescope there was a camera, which is an MVIC camera, so a multispectral visible imaging camera. It's a bit of a tongue twister, got to get your head around that. So just to explain a little bit about that, so our eyes can see, and hopefully most of us can see colour. There are some people that are colourblind, but in general most of us can see on a colour spectrum from red to blue. Now that red and blue spectrum is in a much wider spectrum called the electromagnetic spectrum, and the MVIC camera is able to take pictures of wavelengths outside our visible eye range. So when we look at some of those pictures that have been released by NASA, they're almost like false colour images. If we looked at Pluto with our own eyes, we probably wouldn't see the same things as this camera could see. But it helps us look at the composition or identify the composition of certain gases and minerals within the surface using these cameras. And I was looking at the two different pictures, sort of the real colour pictures of Pluto and the MVIC pictures of Pluto, and there was just more fun colours, and therefore I could produce fun flavours with this tart and make it look really cool and colourful and hopefully tasty as well. So that's my decision behind choosing these toppings, is that I've chosen the MVIC image of Pluto to try and identify, and as I go along I'll try and explain some of the science behind the different colours and the geological features that they represent on the surface of Pluto. So to begin with, what you want is to just put most of your coconut mixture in the bottom. I'm going to leave a little bit behind just to help fill in later on, so probably leave a spatula full, and then with a spoon you're just going to carefully press this in. So pastry might be quite delicate, so you probably just don't want to press too hard because you don't want to break your pastry. I mean, none of these mixtures are too runny, so you should be okay. It shouldn't like leak or anything if you do break it, but don't worry too much. It's all in the fun of making it. Don't worry if things go wrong. Okay. So there we go. So we spread that around. So what I recommend is that you get an image of Pluto up in front of you. So what you can't see is I've got my laptop slightly off screen, so I can see the image in front of me and how I'm going to try and copy that on my pie. So the first one I'm going to do is the slightly darker region in the southern hemisphere. So pick what the top of your pie is going to be and always keep your pie, don't turn your dish round, and just start placing your fruit to match. So this dark bit here that I'm using with the blackberries is the, I want to say the Thulu region, but I don't actually know how to pronounce it. So all the regions on Pluto have been named after sort of on an underworld mythology theme. So it's named after some of the underworlds, some of the explorers and heroes of the underworld. Some of the other features have been named after space sort of exploration programs. So there's the Pioneer region and things like that. So I don't actually know how to pronounce it, the real name of this, but it's nicknamed the whale. And when you look at images of the entire of Pluto's surfaces that have kind of been unwrapped from the spherical sort of nature to the flat, like 2D image, what you can see is this really dark, like whale shape. There's actually a tail shape at the end as well. But on our pie, that's on the other side. So we're not going to represent the tail in this here, but just we can represent the darker feature. So for now, I'm going to call it the whale because that's what I can pronounce. If you know how to pronounce it, you know, message me and let me know. So there we go. Right, the other sort of main feature that you can see is these sort of yellowy patterns at the top, which I was going to use the mango for. So I cheat, I use tin mango because it already comes in slices and it's just a lot easier to see. So I just start to layer my mango like seen in the pictures, like this. But like, here's the thing about my SciRecipes, if you're trying this at home, is like, don't worry too much about trying to get it perfect or looking amazing. Like, just have fun. If you're on your own, put some music on. You know, if it, at the end of the day, it's going to taste good, so it doesn't really matter how it looks. But anyway, it kind of looks like a fringe, doesn't it, the way I've done it? But hey ho, there we go. Filled in. Awesome. Right, what I'm going to do is the mixture that I had saved, I'm just going to pile up to try and make the same height as the mango and blueberries. I keep calling them blueberries, blackberries. The blueberries are going to come in a sec. So if you remember, we made our heart shape earlier. Now the heart shape region is nicknamed or called, the nickname is the heart because of the shape of it, but it's actually called the Tombaugh Regio, and that's named after Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto. So you can call it the heart if you want, or you can call it the Clyde Tombaugh region. So I'm just going to lay this on Pluto, and I've realised I probably just need to press you down in there. Probably just need to fill in underneath a little bit so it doesn't collapse like that. So there's loads of names and I couldn't remember them all, but this little region underneath the heart here is called the Pandemonium Dorsa, and I just thought that was a really cool name, so I've remembered that one, and I'm going to leave that region here. So I'm just going to fill it in a little bit here, smudge it down and smooth over. There we go. Waste not, want not. Always scrape the bowl out. So there we go. So we've got our heart on here, we've got our darker region, we've got our yellowy mango region here, and then I thought what was really cool was I could use the blueberries to kind of show craters on the surface. There's over 1,000 craters that have been identified on the surface of Pluto, so it's quite active at the surface as well. Now there's one region that doesn't really have craters, and that is this half of the heart, or the Tombaugh Regio, which is called the Sputnik Planum. So when you're putting your blueberries on, put them everywhere except your heart shape. So I just thought it would look quite fun. There's quite a big crater up in this area here called the Burney crater as well, so you can kind of put a little group together to try and represent that